Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings Podcast. I'm Lucas with my co hosts Earl, Mal, and Maurice. Guys, we're back for episode 2. We didn't get canceled after episode 1. Seems like a fair amount of people like this so far, so let's keep it going. And Earl, you're going to take us away, right, man?
Sounds good. How y'all doing today?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing good too.
Enjoying the summer weather.
I understand. I wish it was a little bit colder, but it's all good in time. All right. I'm gonna talk about what the Dallas Cowboys did in the NFL draft. The grade I give them overall for what they did in the draft, I give them a B plus. The reason for the B plus is they addressed it. They addressed some of the things that they needed to work on, especially with covering the front end of their defense, especially at D tackle. I really love the pick that they drafted at 26, Mozzie Smith. He was one that was on my draft board that I really thought was someone that would fall to us, and he fits perfectly in what Dan Quinn would like to do on the defensive side of the ball. It will free up Micah. It will free up Lawrence. It's going to free up Armstrong. It's going to free up so much with those pass rushers as well as Sam Williams. And I really love the pick. Overall, through the draft, their second pick was Luke Schumacher. I give that a solid grade, especially with his size and athleticism. And then after that, we had Demarion Overshown in the third round that I think was a steal because this guy, he plays linebacker, but he can play that high-end safety role like Jaron Kearse does. And he's a missile. And I really love that tenacity that he has, and I think that's going to work well with Dallas overall. The rest of the picks that they had in the draft was Bilami Fahoko Jr. in the fourth. They had Asim Richards in the fifth round, and they had Eric Scott Jr. sixth round. Then our seventh pick another sixth round pick, Deuce Vaughn. And then to end out the draft, we drafted wide receiver in the seventh round, Jalen Brooks. And overall, I thought a B plus was a solid grade for Dallas in this. What do y'all think?
I like that grade. I like that grade. If Mozzie Smith hits, you guys have it's a hell of a pick. I think a lot of the comps he got was Aaron Donald, which is kind of crazy, but he's an undersized, small interior lineman. If he hits, it's just another weapon for the defense, and another weapon Michael Parsons can use to be even more dominant. I like it.
I agree with that. It definitely frees up Micah as well as upcoming second year starter Sam Williams. He showed a lot of presence at the pass rushing end, substituting out for Lawrence. And I think with that, plugging up that middle is one of Dallas's weaknesses that they really needed to address. So that's why I love this Mozzie Smith pick. And looking at the draft, I saw that Michael Parsons was excited as well for that pick.
Yeah, no, Earl, I definitely agree with your grade there. I think my favorite pick for you guys was actually Deuce Vaughn. I think he has a lot of potential.
I,
Isn't it true that his father works for the Cowboys as well?
yes, he actually works under the scouting. And when I saw the draft, I got a little teary eyed with that because that was so cool to see that Jerry Jones drafted his son, even though that his father couldn't be part of that draft room. They had to pull him to the side and then talk this stuff out. So it was really cool. And I love Deuce Vaughn as a running back. I watched him all through his time in Kansas State, and this dude's got juice. He's got adrenaline. He's got elusiveness. And they keep saying that he's not a big back. It's not even about that. What he was able to accomplish at Kansas State for his size is basically a Darren Sproles 2.0 out of Kansas State. And I think Dallas really got a steal in that, especially in the sixth round.
Yeah, I think you had a solid grade overall. I don't disagree. I think you guys did solid. Yeah, I really have nothing else to say to it.
Alrighty. Hey, Maurice, what did you think of the draft grade the Eagles had?
Well, personally, I absolutely love the draft. Um, Based off the losses the Eagles had for the offseason, Howie Roseman did a good job in trying to replenish some of that talent. Um, I give the draft an A minus, um, border of just an A. First of all, the Eagles had an extra pick. They had a top pick. They had a 10th pick, traded up one to get Jalen Carter. I think he's going to be an impact player immediately out of the gate. Um, he's learning from Fletcher Cox, learning from Brandon Graham. Um, I think he's going to be an impact player for this defense. Was already a great defense last year. Um, and then right after that, they drafted Nolan Smith, an edge rusher who could be on the other side of Hassan Reddick. Um, it's just more impact players with speed and strength. And I absolutely love our draft. Tyler Steen's going to come in and probably be our starting right guard. We lost Isaac Salamalu to free agency to the Steelers. Um, I think he's either going to be him or Jurgens, second year player Cam Jurgens, and Kelly Ringo, who a lot of mocks early in the year had him going in the first round, cornerback from Georgia as well. The running joke is the Eagles are now called the Philadelphia Bulldogs because we have so many Bulldogs on that team, which is good because they're a really good team in the SEC. So if we can get all that talent here and just get flush as much talent as possible out of those players, I see nothing but good things. So I give our team a draft an A minus. I can't really see any weaknesses that this team had coming out of the draft. I think Howie Roseman did a great job. What do you guys think?
I mean, my team's called the Washington Crimson Tide just because of all the Alabama players. So I get that. No, dude, honestly, I think you're being modest here. I think I give you guys at least an A, arguably an A plus. I thought you guys did fantastic. Getting Jalen Carter dropping that low at 9, absolute steal because you could argue he's the best player in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I would that I would agree with you, Maurice, on that and Lucas as well between an A and an A minus. Um, the Eagles they did a really great job. They did a great job in this draft where they addressed the needs in which they lost, and some of them were really great steals for them, especially Keely Ringo. And then there's one that you didn't mention, Maurice, in the later rounds. They drafted a safety out of Illinois. This
Yeah.
guy,
Steady Brown.
yeah, this that dude is for real, and I think he's gonna replace Gardner Johnson.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He might not start immediately. As of right now, we have Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds as the starting safeties. And things could change during the training camp, so we'll see.
True, I think he'll do well. If anything, he might make special teams and work his way up there.
All right, Maurice. So I think I would agree with Lucas and say that you're being modest, but I would definitely give the Eagles grade an A. I think you guys really covered a lot of what you needed, if you really even needed much. But my favorite pick from you guys was Nolan Smith. I think that with him and Hassan Reddick, that line is going to start to cause problems.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. What you
Yeah,
got, Lucas?
So for my team, I've been going back and forth on this because we did get a lot of good players. Don't get it twisted because you look at Emmanuel Forbes, who I remember at the draft night. At first, I saw his size, and I'm just like, he's way too small. And then I talked to Earl about it, and then watched some highlights. I'm like, okay, this guy's a ball hawk. This guy's going to be able to make interception plays, and we have two really good cover corners already, but we didn't have a guy that can play make on the outside. Get interceptions, bad way balls, and Emmanuel Forbes definitely does that. Dertavius Martin's another good defensive back that I really like. And then we fortified the offensive line that needed a little bit work after last season. We got Ricky Stormberg and Brandon Daniels. who are really good. And then I also just really enjoyed getting another running back in Chris Rodriguez, who played really good for Kentucky last year, a little underrated. So he's going to be part of a three-headed monster now with our running backs already there. So I like those moves. So I looking back at it, I would have liked to get a tight end and maybe looked at a quarterback, but at the same time, it seems like Sam Howell really has a vice grip on the job, and the tight end is really the one thing I wish we would have addressed more, because I don't love our tight end depth right now, especially because Armani Rogers is out with an Achilles tear for the rest of the year. That happened in OTAs, and I wasn't thrilled about that. So I wish we would have gotten tight end, but everything else looked pretty good. So I'm gonna give us a B plus. I feel like B plus is appropriate.
Yeah, I can agree with that grade of a B plus. I could definitely say that y'all are reloading at the corner, and I think with that, with Ron Rivera, I really believe this is his last shot in trying to get some type of progression going with the Commanders, and I think he's going to try to build it off the defensive side. Rodriguez is a good running back. I've seen him in Kentucky. He can ball, and possibly a three-headed monster. He's going to have to work his way in there. But overall, y'all had a good draft, and I would give y'all a B plus or a B.
Yeah, I go B too. Um, no major headways, but I definitely see where Ron Rivera is going with this team. It's going to be hard nosed, a tough team. The Commanders always give it, at least for us, the Commanders always give us a trouble. I mean, hey, he was only the only real legitimate loss I could say last year was the Commanders. So the Commanders always play tough, and that's just an image of their head coach. So
I mean,
I definitely give it a B.
we definitely beat the Cowboys too. I don't think, did we beat you guys, Mal, or no? I don't think we did we?
No, we tied and then we beat you guys the second time.
Oh, okay.
The good old tie.
The good
Yeah, the
old
good old tie.
Oh gosh, that was an ugly game.
Playoff spot.
At that game, that was the worst.
Yeah, not pretty at all. What do you think, Mal?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with your B plus. I like the way that you guys are going. What do you think about Emmanuel Forbes in the first? Is that someone that you would have grabbed?
I was actually looking at oh gosh, the guy from Penn State. That's who I wanted.
Oh, Joey Porter.
Yeah, I really wanted Jerry Porter Jr. and Earl knew I wanted him, but something told me he was going to go to Pittsburgh anyway.
I had a feeling too.
Yeah, I also had a feeling, but I was shocked that he came off. He didn't even come off till the second round.
Yeah,
that was
a
shocking to me.
I was hoping that if he fell to the second round, that we could get him in the second round. It just didn't happen, clearly.
Yeah,
that was a steal. He was a perfect landing spot for him too, because his father played there. So
yeah, the story wrote itself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So Mal, what grade would you give the New York Giants in this draft?
Yeah, so I think this was actually one of our best drafts in a while. We filled a lot of needs that we needed. So I would overall give us an A minus. First round, Deontay Banks, great pick. Super quick. He ran a 4.35, 40-yard dash. He sticks to receivers in man coverage, and I think he's going to wind up making a difference after he matures a little bit. Then in the second round, we got John Michael Schmitz, who is a center, and he definitely filled that huge need we had there. And he was the highest rated center by PFF last year, and he's a great run blocker, and we really had a problem stopping the run, so I'm excited to see what he can do. And then in round 3, I feel we got a steal for Jalen Hyatt. He has a lot of potential, and I'll talk about him more later on in the podcast, but I'm really excited to see him too. The reason I give us an A minus is because I would have liked to see us take an edge rusher or even a linebacker. I think we need way more depth there, so I think that's why I didn't give us the A. But there were some good pieces in the later rounds. We had Eric Gray in the 4th round, who is a very good running back. We had Jordan Riley, the defensive lineman, Gravarius Owens, a safety, and I'm actually really excited to see one of our UDFAs, Bryce Ford Wheaton, I love his
Yay.
explosiveness. Yeah, I love his explosiveness. I love his body control downfield, and I think he's going to develop into a nice piece for us. So overall, I'd give us an A-.
So before I give, I think A- might be a bit too high because you guys didn't get the number one wideout option, but at least not like a clear cut one. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I did like a lot of your moves. I'd probably give it a B plus. But going back to Bryce Ford Wheaton, because you guys know I'm a West Virginia guy when it comes to college, and Bryce Ford Wheaton, he's big, he's fast. The biggest question is his hands, because sometimes he drops catches that he should easily have. So if he can
Right,
get
and
his
we know all about drops, so.
yeah. So if he can get his hands a little bit better, I think he probably would have been drafted. But beggars can't be choosers on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you with the grade, Lucas, of B plus. I thought the Giants really addressed a lot in this draft, and I really liked the pick that the Giants did with Jalen Hyatt. Everybody was kind of just seeing, can he be that number one receiver? But one thing that he has that I love about him is his speed. His speed is crazy on the field. I saw the game when he played against Alabama. He smoked those guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Mel.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, he's very athletic, very fast. I definitely see him developing into something good. The only reason that I wasn't too concerned about us not drafting the number one wideout, like the clear cut, is because of who was on the board at the time. And also Darius Slayton and his improvements in the offseason and what I've been seeing in OTAs. So that's why I kind of wasn't too worried about it.
Hyatt is going to be a very pivotal addition to that offense, to that Giants offense, because they definitely need someone who can stretch the field and help Daniel Jones and Barkley. Hopefully, he can fill the void of Mr. KT. I'm not going to say his name now. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I saw your tweet, so I said, I'm not going to say his name, KT. Anybody
That's
that
funny.
doesn't know, Kadarius Toney.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, hopefully he can just stretch the field and just become another playmaker on that Giants team. Because if anybody doesn't know, the news came out today is more drama with Saquon Barkley. So I don't know if everything's going to be pieces of cream with the at least on the offensive side for the Giants. But I like the Hyatt pick.
No, absolutely. And with Hyatt, he brings the speed just like what Joe Shane's been looking for with adding Paris Campbell. Darius Slayton's got speed. Hodgins got some speed. So I think he kind of sticks to that and he'll fit in great with the group there. And he's going to wind up being a deep threat for Jones, which is something that we haven't had in a while. Slayton was really just a little glimpse of it. But I think that finally we can kind of get going in the right direction with our wide receiver core there.
So,
Yeah.
for those that don't know,
Bills too.
hang on, Earl. For those that don't know about what's going on with the latest Saquon, my understanding is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mallory, is that he's saying that he won't play on the franchise tag. So it sounds like to me it's either sign me long term or I'm gonna sit out.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't necessarily know if he means it. I think he might be using it as leverage at this point because it's really I think he wants to get a deal done. We all want to get a deal done. But no, he did say that. I just don't know if it's necessarily true.
We'll see.
For sure.
And like you mentioned on the last podcast, general managers teams don't value running backs as well as they used to. So I'm going to be really interested as an Eagles fan just to see how that works out. Because without Saquon, that's going to be tough for the Giants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
they have a lot. With what you're saying by that is that most general managers now, they think they can get a running back from anywhere because running backs now, they have this like title that they can be replaced after a lot of wear on the tires. But I think Saquon Barkley, he still can ball. I just really hope they're able to get a deal done in case this stuff is true about him not playing on the tag. Hopefully they can get a deal done before week 1.
Yeah, he's one of our offensive playmakers, one of the best locker room guys. I would call him the face of our franchise. It would suck to not have Saquon. And I wouldn't want to imagine a team without it, but guess reality's got to sink in and only hope for the best at this point and see what the deadline brings us.
That's definitely true.
Yep. Well, we can move on to our next topic, and I'll ask the question: what is one player that you would keep your eye on from this draft? And for me, it's a no-brainer. For me, this is easy. One is Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Like I said, if Jalen Carter is who he is, and if he's the best, considered to be the best player from this draft, I think he's going to make an immediate impact. And him next to Jordan Davis is a great 1-2 punch. They're both young. They both can do so many different things. Jordan Davis is more of a run stuffer. Jalen Carter can get after the quarterback. It's going to be really exciting to see how they mature together on the line. And like I mentioned, they still got Fletcher Cox, who's a veteran, who's a great all-pro player. They have so much depth there that we don't need Jalen Carter to be impact player immediately, but his skill level is just so high that I truly believe that he's going to be defensive rookie of the year. I don't really think I can put that on for Jalen Carter right now.
I was gonna say that's probably the right one for you guys, to be honest, Jalen Carter. I believe that his potential. I already have him in my mind pegged in as defensive player of the year with Emmanuel Forbes being runner up, but anyway. But that's just me. But no, I think you're right on there, dude. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jalen Carter is a beast. Like I said, that was a great pick for you guys at number 9. I think what's most important that you said is that he will be an immediate impact player, but he doesn't necessarily have to because of the depth that your team has and the skill and talent that your team has. So it'll give him some time to develop, learn under some people, and still wind up beating them out for a roster spot in training camp. So I'm with you. I think he's going to be definitely a threat in the league for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Jalen Carter, for him to fall like he did, I know some gym owners are going to be like, darn, they should have rethought this. Carter has that raw ability with his power. He's athletic, and him right beside Jordan Davis, that's going to be a problem in the middle. Having those two guys on the front four for the Eagles, as they learn and gain that experience, they're going to be a threat for their time in the league. So I give credit where it's due to the Eagles getting Jalen Carter.
Yep. Lucas, what you got?
I mean, it's an easy one for me too. I think Emmanuel Forbes. I thought about Chris Rodriguez for a minute, but then I realized he's going to be behind Wilson and Gibson. So he's not going to be able to play enough to make a big enough impact. So I'm going to go with Forbes here. I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I think he's going to end up leading rookies in interceptions. Look, the Commanders haven't had that many playmakers on the outside, being able to intercept balls. I think we were really low in the league last year in terms of interceptions. So he's going to be a ball hawk. He's going to look for all the interceptions. My biggest question is, how is he going to handle bigger wide receivers, like the more physical guys? How is he going to handle that? Because he does have a really thin frame. So is he going to be able to bulk up a little bit during training camp? Is he going to be able to handle these physical guys, or is he only going to be able to play in limited roles or against limited matchups? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Now, what you got?
Yeah. So my obvious pick is Jalen Hyatt. I think he was a steal for the 3rd round. I thought he was going 2nd round, honestly. So when I saw him still hanging there when we were creeping back up, I was like, I hope so, because I had him on my eye for a while. He has some developing to do, like I said. But it'll come with time and experience, and I think that he'll wind up becoming a big playmaker for us. He's extremely quick and athletic. His vertical jump, his broad jump, and his 40-yard dash all were above the 85th percentile. So pretty athletic kid. And I thought that it was pretty cool that Dable actually was the one who initiated the trade for Hyatt, which shows that, that was really his guy at the time. Dable, great offensive-minded coach, so I completely respect his opinion and the things that he's done for us. So I have nothing but a choice to trust him. And like you said, that Alabama game where he just torched it up, I was in awe of the kid. And so I think in the end, he'll become a deep threat for us. And I hope that he develops into hopefully our wide receiver one at some point.
That makes sense.
Agreed.
All right. Earl, what you got?
Alrighty. This one was kind of tough to figure out. I would say Mozzie Smith, but I'm gonna go with 6th round draft pick Eric Scott Jr.
Ooh,
Um,
okay.
With him being in the mix, especially at the cornerback position, he's 6'1", 196 pounds, runs close to a 4.3, 4.4. And so far that I've been hearing from OTAs and just what they've done at camp, he's been balling out. And one thing that I know with Dallas, towards the end of the season, we had some injuries to some of our veteran corners in Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis. And Deron Bland stepped up, and Israel Mukuamu stepped up. And I really think Eric Scott Jr. is going to probably take one of those spots from either Anthony Brown or Jordan Lewis. This guy is on the rise, and I think he's going to have some shine like Deron Bland had towards the end of the season, this past season. So if y'all start hearing names about Eric Scott Jr., I really think he can make a 53-man roster spot with Dallas.
Interesting. Going with the late round guy. Okay.
Do you see him playing some nickel?
I actually do. I actually could see him playing nickel. I could see him lining up man-to-man, especially with I actually found out that Kelvin Joseph, Dan Quinn shifted him to safety. So that's going to free up a roster spot on the corner position. I'm really liking what Dallas is doing overall, especially with their young corners. And I think Eric Scott Jr. is going to definitely have a presence felt. I can't wait to see what he does in the preseason.
Yeah, I love that pick, Earl. I also love the fact that he gets to learn and develop under two really great veteran experienced corners like Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore. So I think he's good. He has a really great shot of being successful there.
Yeah, I really love the pick, especially for a late rounder. I think that was a steal.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So now we're going to switch gears again. And I know that Mallory and Maurice have been waiting for this subject. So without any further ado, we're going to go to our Twitter poll question of the week. We're going to start doing this for the podcast moving forward. We'll have one Twitter poll. We'll have it open a few days, and we'll talk about the results of it after we get on for the next episode. So with that being said, I did a series of 4 different tweets, all connected in a thread, and basically I did a poll asking where each head coach ranked in terms of where they were in the division in terms of how good they were. So 4th place, sadly, goes to Ron Rivera, and probably rightfully so. He was voted 55.2% of at 4th place for the division, so that makes sense there. Honestly, he's on thin ice. I think with new ownership, he could very well be out. I think he's betting all of his money on Sam Howell, and maybe it'll pay off, maybe it won't. He's a great culture guy, but in terms of offensive, he definitely struggles. So Bieniemy's there to either help him out or take his place. So we'll see what happens. Number 3, we have Mike McCarthy. This was probably the most debated one, that either he was 3 or 4 because that one was more split than any other one. He only got 51.5% of 3rd place votes. So it does not feel like a lot of Dallas fans or fans in general feel that confident in Mike McCarthy. And I think like Rivera, I think it might be his last year as well. We'll see. Number 2, despite getting to a Super Bowl, he is still second in this ranking. Nick Sirianni, he got 65.5% of the second place votes for that poll. And last but not least is Brian Dable, who is one of the up and rising head coaches in the NFL. He got an overwhelming 88%, 88.5%. However, I do want to note one small thing here. The demographics might be slightly biased here because a lot of our followers, as of now, are Giant fans. So
I wasn't gonna say it.
I was definitely going to mention that.
I knew you were, Maurice. I knew it.
So
The
let's talk about
demographic was
this.
skewed for this vote.
So let's talk about it for a second, guys. Did the fans get it right or wrong? Let's talk about with Rivera first. Whoever wants to chime in can chime in. Did they get it right or wrong?
Well, we'll ask you, Lucas. Is Ron
Me?
Rivera the fourth best coach in the division?
Honestly, I mean, I think it's a toss-up between him and Mike McCarthy, but Mike McCarthy has a Super Bowl ring, so yeah, probably.
Well, that was with another team. I mean, I don't know if that's really relevant to this poll, but
do you think that he's the fourth worst one, Maurice? Because it doesn't sound like it.
no, I think Ron Rivera is the fourth best coach in the division. I do believe that.
Okay.
I do believe
Yeah, I
that.
believe that too.
Same.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. All right, Mike McCarthy. Is he the third best coach? I'm just going to move on and let my feelings be hurt later. Is Mike McCarthy the third best coach in the NFC East?
Yeah,
I want to hear what Earl has to say.
Yeah, I know that was coming. I've been behind Mike McCarthy since he got to Dallas. It's just Jerry Jones really didn't give him a fair chance to coach, especially with Kellen Moore in the picture. And I really think he wasn't able to coach like he would want to. And I really think this time around is definitely, he's got all chips in on, he's going to be calling the offense, supposedly, and has more of a stronger grip towards the team. And I really think he's going to show out this season. For me, I would love to I would say he's third, but I really think he's in the top 2 as head coaches in the division.
Hold up. If he's in the top 2, who are you taking out of the top 2, Earl?
I would.
Earl, say it.
All right, I ain't afraid. It's between Brian Dable and Nick Sirianni. I understand Nick Sirianni got to a Super Bowl in his second year. I got to see what he does in year 3. Brian Dable, first year as a head coach, did really well turning the team around. I got to see what he does in the second year.
Earl, you ain't answered the question though. Who, if Mike McCarthy's a top 2, who's number 3?
Wait, do you think he's the best coach?
Ooh. Okay, let's talk about it. Sure. Earl, do you think Mike McCarthy's the best coach in the division?
I do believe it.
Wow.
Oh. Okay, so I will say this though, Earl. I do agree with your point that I think Mike McCarthy will be much better once he's able to kind of coach the way that he wants to. I do think that Jerry Jones does have a play in that, but I am interested to see why you think he's the best.
Can't use the Super Bowl because Maurice just said that we can't use the Super Bowl as a reason.
I'm not planning on using the Super Bowl, Lucas.
Okay.
Reason why I say that he is the best coach, regardless of the Super Bowl or not. When he did coach, he had a quarterback that pretty much we think now he's a really great quarterback. And overall, I really think he had an unfair exit out of Green Bay because of that quarterback. But with his learning and his understanding with being a coach as well as being an assistant coach, he has that experience with him. And I would bank that on any other coach in the division, even if I give the exact respect to Dable as well as Sirianni and Rivera. I really believe that he is the best coach. It's just the front office did not give him that rightful opportunity too. in which I think this year we're going to see what he's capable of. And I got all my chips in on Mike McCarthy this season in that regard. I really believe he is the best coach. Another reason for it is that you had a dysfunctional in the offense and you still finished back-to-back seasons 12-5.
Okay, that's a valid argument. I will admit that.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's had a really good record, and I think he's been a head coach in Dallas longer than Rivera has in DC, right?
And
so he's the longest tenured one. So there's that.
In his first year as coach of Dallas, he lost Dak Prescott for the season.
Yeah.
When I say it was like some dysfunction in this organization, I really think now is his chance to show, like, look, y'all should have gave me this shot 2 seasons ago. And being able to show that I believe in Big Mike. Like, I really do. And it takes a lot for someone who's going through so much with the front office, battling on what he would want to do, and they would do the opposite of that. It frustrated him, especially when they played Green Bay and lost that game. He puts all that blame on Kellen Moore, like literally just agitated him. But through the dysfunction, was still able to finish out the season 12-5. That you don't normally see that, and I think with him having better control of the team now, especially with Kellen Moore gone, I think it's going to be bigger and better things coming Dallas's way. And that's just my
Earl. Don't take this don't take this in a hard way. Respectfully.
Bring the smoke.
You sound like every Cowboys fan I've ever talked to. Every Cowboys fan I've ever talked to. Optimistic. Something happened, catastrophe happened, but everything's going to change. Everything's going to be great, peaches and cream now, this coming season. And I love it. I love it because everybody should have optimism. But Mike McCarthy's always going to have one handicap. He's going to have one handcuff, and that's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is always going to be there. He's always going to oversee everything. He's a general manager and the owner. He's always going to be there. I mean, there's only so much the head coach can do. You have someone like Jerry Jones there. I will say that, I mean, Mike McCarthy has every opportunity going forward to be the best coach in the division. I mean, they have a lot of talent on that team. We're going to see how it comes out, how it all forms and shapes up this upcoming season. But the poll is based off the last, couple of years, the 10 years of these coaches. And I can't put Mike McCarthy at number one just based off of, they had two winning seasons. They made the playoff both seasons. The Giants didn't. But, I mean, one coach got his team to a Super Bowl. It was the best team in the division, in the conference. I mean, more power to you if that's your opinion. I mean, I just don't see that. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Hold up. Let's go, because Earl made some good points. We're going to talk about Nick Sirianni, because my mindset has actually kind of shifted a little bit, not too much, but a little bit here. So, Maurice, do you think that Nick Sirianni is the second best coach in the division?
I think Nick Sirianni is the second best coach in football.
Ooh!
Ayo!
Andy Reid, who was the former coach of the Eagles. And that's not me being partisan or anything. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm going off the history of his tenure as coach over the last 2 years. We got to the playoff both seasons. I think he has a 2-year record of 23-13. I want to say 25-13. Excuse me. He's gotten his team. Well, first, I mean, it's kind of rare to get as the first year coach to get your team to the playoffs, and then the second year go further and go to the Super Bowl. But also, him having to delegate and say, you know what, I have this young, talented coordinator in Shane Steichen, who went on to become the coach of the Colts. He's a great play caller. Jalen Hurts works well with him. Let me delegate the play calling to Shane Steichen, and it worked wonders. He got a head coaching job because of it, and the offense looked amazing with him as the play caller. Um, and just having and I see people online who say, well, Sirianni had a great talent. He has great talent. His team is full of talented players. He, no, they're only as good as your coach, as we've seen in other teams and other sports. You could be a talented team, but not put together if you don't have the right coach, as me and Lucas know. So, with all that said, I can't argue anyone else specifically in the division being a better coach than Nick Sirianni. What do you guys think?
So you actually kind of touched on the point that I was going to make. Because initially I thought the poll was right, but after listening to Earl's argument and then listening to your argument, I'm going to have to actually switch McCarthy and Sirianni. And it is not like a big difference between the two. It's minor, but like you guys said, McCarthy has been handicapped by an owner. Trust me, I know what that feels like as a Commanders fan because Snyder. So there's that. McCarthy has had pretty winning seasons when his team's been healthy. Granted, he hasn't been able to get all the way there, but on the same note, Sirianni has one of the best general managers in the game. I mean, the general manager got a different head coach to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl with that head coach. So while I tend to agree that Sirianni has done a great job with, being a leader of men in terms of, dealing with adversity, he has a great front office that knows what they're doing and gets them very talented players and can replenish them. Whereas the Cowboys, no offense, Earl, doesn't have the best front office in the NFL. So and let's be real, the Cowboys deal with more injuries than the Eagles. And while I think that the handicap on McCarthy is fair, the +1 that Sirianni has with his general manager should also be taken into account as well.
Okay, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. In a way, it's like a backwards compliment, I guess.
No, it is a compliment. You guys have a great GM. Like I'm not, no. And like I said,
front office is really good.
Yeah. So you're saying organization and the organization in general is so good that Nick Sirianni coaching takes a back seat.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a fair statement. Because I think out of like all the franchises in the division, I think the Eagles have been the most stable one in recent years. I mean, like, yeah, we've had Snyder and Jones forever, but like in reality, they've not been good stewards of their team, and we know the mess that the Giants were in the 2010s. No offense, Mal.
My God, none taken.
But like the Eagles, I mean, look, you had McNabb for a number of years, then you had who was it? Nick Foles for like 1 or 2 years, who wasn't great as a young player, not surprising. Then you had Carson Wentz, who was good for a couple of years before he got injured. And then switched to Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts has been a winner wherever he was in college, so it's not that surprising. Like, I think the organization just, I think the fact that the organization and the front office is just the stability there has given, you could plug in a very good good head coach into it, and it will work regardless. Now, will you win a Super Bowl every time? I don't know. But you've been to 2 in the past, what, like 5 years? Or 6 years? That's pretty good stats with 2 different head coaches. Yeah. With 2 different starting quarterbacks, too. Pretty much a whole new team outside of on the offensive end.
Okay.
So that's why I think you can give McCarthy the slight edge in terms of just, Sirianni came into an ideal situation. McCarthy did not.
I agree.
Mallory, what do you think?
Well, so I honestly think the poll, how it went, was completely correct. And I honestly don't think that Sirianni and Dable. I mean, yeah, come on. I don't think that Sirianni and Dable are as far as people say they are. Because that's a thing with Giant fans. Oh, like Sirianni doesn't even clear up. Like, no. Like Sirianni's a great coach.
The top three in this division are not like separated by a wide gap.
No,
I
not
think
at all.
McCarthy, Sirianni, and Dable are all in like similar tiers. Like Ron
Yeah.
Rivera, he's one of the best culture coaches in the NFL. But in defensive coaches, but in terms of offense, he's just struggled and being able to implement a good offense and get on the same page of an offensive coordinator. But the rest of the
Absolutely.
coaches in the division are not separated by a lot. So I don't.
No.
Yeah, I
And
agree
here's
with you
my
there.
Yeah, and here's my argument for why I believe that Dable at this point is the number one coach in the division.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it. Yeah.
That's because what he did with so little, with the situation he came into last year. I mean, when I tell you I had no expectations last year based off of, we were wearing garbage like bags on our head saying fire everyone. We were running through the streets for this bozo of a coach, Joe Judge, at FanFest the year before. We were not even clearing 5 wins. So I really was just like, all right, with this roster, with Daniel Jones being the way he is, I don't know how this is going to go. And he completely turned it around. The culture, the way that team played, the way that they wanted to win, the way that we got to the divisional round the first year as his head coach tenure. And yeah, we got smacked by you guys, Maurice. But I saw a lot of positives that season from him. Just when I thought things would, go south, he would always turn them back around. Wound up bringing that team with that little of talent to the playoffs. And what really sold me was the way that he coached Daniel Jones. We weren't seeing anything out of him for a while. But when Dable came and they formed their relationship, and Kafka came and him and Daniel formed a really great relationship, and they played to his strengths and to the rest of the team's strengths. I love the way that Dable is open and honest with the players. He hears them out, listens to what they want, what they think is best. I don't think any of our previous coaches did that. I just think that he really changed everything that we were looking for. We needed something. We didn't think it was going to come this quickly with the team being in a rebuild, or at least starting one. And for him to have that great of a start that soon with the amount of talent that he did, I just only see great things going forward for Brian Dable.
I agree with you, Mal, on that. I really think the Giants signing Brian Dable as their head coach, that was a perfect match, especially with the intensity that he brings as a coach. He's learned under Nick Saban, and just getting that chance to be in Buffalo to pretty much recreate Josh Allen to be a pocket passer where he doesn't always have to utilize his legs. I really think he's trying to mold that into Daniel Jones, in which getting him those weapons he would need, and especially with trying to get Saquon Barkley signed, I think Brian Dable has instilled a culture that the team is buying in, and that's very contagious for a team where you can go to war with your head coach and leave everything out there. So I really like Brian Dable as the coach of the Giants because he gives them that culture that the Giants really haven't seen in a very long time. So kudos to the Giants.
Yeah, I agree with you, Earl.
Yeah, you make a great argument. You could easily say Dable has made the most with the least when it comes to talent. The Giants and the Commanders are probably the two teams that have the least amount of talent in the division.
That's a little
He's made.
hurtful. That's a little hurtful.
I'm just being
Purple,
truthful.
but he's speaking facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We're getting better.
Yeah, we're on the
Yeah,
come
I
up.
mean, he's definitely made the most out of what he's had. I will give you that, and he's made Daniel Jones into a 200 or 100 or how many $1 million quarterback he is. He got him paid basically, and he's definitely done a lot with Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones isn't the most talented quarterback, but he's a franchise quarterback for sure. And I'm interested to see the progression Dable makes with that team going forward into next season. You're making a compelling argument. I get it.
Yeah, look, I think Dable's the best one. Look, the turnaround that he did with the Giants is just unimaginable. Before last season, the Giants were a laughing stock. No offense, Mal, but like
None taken.
They were like Daniel
Oh, I
Jones
know.
looked like a bust, second bust from that draft because of course the first one was ours.
It would get to the point where like the games would come on and I'd be like, nah, I'll go do something else.
I mean, like Saquon looked disinterested. Daniel Jones looked like he was about to like just walk out of the league. Like I could not identify a starting level talent that Daniel Jones had in the last like 2 seasons. So before this past one. So like, and the fact is that like you said, culture. The guy's one of the best, and you know we'll see what happens moving forward. But I don't the not just the turnaround, but what he did with Jones, I think is just unheard of. Like you don't see very many teams turn around like that just by changing of a head coach without changing the quarterback too, and they didn't change the quarterback. And they got the turnaround from the quarterback and the whole entire roster. So like I think Dable's number 1. I think McCarthy's number 2. I'll give Sirianni number 3 unless he can go to the Super Bowl again, then sure, I'll probably give him number 1 unless like, you know, Dable does something crazy. Like, you know, and we just need to fire Ron Rivera. So on that note,
I think
guys,
we can all agree on that.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're gonna start, if you're gonna start Carson Wentz in a must-win game against the Browns,
and
you don't know that it was a must-win game.
That didn't make any sense, Lucas.
What are we doing here?
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. Wow.
Yeah. Look, that being said, I mean, maybe he could be in the front office. I think that would be a good role for him because he is such a great person and good culture guy. But I think he should be done being the head coach. On that note, guys, this took a lot longer than I thought it would, and we're going to cut out our last subject and wait until our next podcast for that because we're pushing an hour now. So on that note, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thanks again for everybody listening to our podcast. Please make sure that you subscribe to our Spotify page and our Twitter page again. And just make sure that you guys give us all support. Tell your friends. Tell anybody that's an NFC East fan. And just remember, you know, be safe out there during the summer. It is hot. Don't play anything crazy. And remember, follow us on Twitter at 13_Rings Podcast. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you. Good night.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.